What's going on, everybody? My name is Alex, and in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about some odd speculation I have stumbled across of a op-ed website. Well, it's not an op-ed website, but an op-ed from the website CCN discussing how Sony might be getting screwed over with their PS5 and the next console generation because AMD has decided to take a particularly what I consider a general move. But this author seems to think otherwise, and I find it quite interesting, and I personally disagree with this take, so I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Let's jump in. So, how AMD might accidentally kill Sony's PlayStation 5 console. AMD's advancements in the cloud gaming space could end up denting the prospects of Sony's upcoming PlayStation 5 console. AMD is one of Sony's most integral partners, but advancements in cloud technology put the PlayStation 5 and other consoles at risk. AMD has recently struck a deal to boost its cloud gaming prospects, and AMD is a key supplier for the Sony PlayStation 5 console. The advantages and disadvantages in cloud gaming pose a threat to the PlayStation 5. AMD is a key ally of Sony in the gaming console business. The chip maker powers the PS4 with its semi-custom chips, and it's all set to repeat that feat for the PlayStation 5 as well. But at the same time, AMD has been quietly making moves that could end up sabotaging the prospects of the PS5, and as AMD has recently struck a deal with Oxide Games, a company that has been busy developing cloud gaming technologies for years now. Such a move might pose a significant threat to the PlayStation 5. As you can see here, we have a tweet from Scott Herkelman. Looks like he is part of the Oxide Games team. I would have to double check that, but I would go ahead and assume that to be true. AMD is boosting its cloud gaming prospects. While details about AMD's deal with Oxide Games remains slim, the company made it clear in a press release that it will use the latter's Nitrous engine to develop, which is a robust set of tools and technologies for cloud rendering, yada yada. Oxide has been developing this gaming engine since 2013, talking about other cloud improvements, showing some numbers. The Nitrous engine currently supports, looks like, all platforms, doesn't say anything about Switch, but all main high-end gaming platforms. But AMD's involvement could open up a broader market for Oxide while giving the chip makers access to a platform that accelerates its cloud initiative. AMD also is powering the cloud infrastructure for Google and Microsoft for their streaming platform Stadia and Project xCloud respectively. Google Stadia already supports multiple game engines including Unity, Unreal, and there's possibility of AMD eventually adding another engine to the mix of it if its partnership with Oxide proves fruitful. PS5 faces an uphill battle. The prospects of the PlayStation 5 are already mired in uncertainty thanks to novel pandemic, supply chains disrupted, hardware costs are increasing, so Sony hasn't came up with a definitive price point yet. And then they talk about the number of units estimated to be sold, which is shy of the number of units that the PlayStation 4 sold initially during its release, and then I think the quarter following or the few months following after. They're also talking about the higher price point, and looks like they're going over how Google Stadia, it's a steady subscription service with a general monthly payment and no need to drop more cash on to hardware. The cost advantage of cloud gaming, the arrival of 5G networks, and advancements in cloud computing could eat the PlayStation 5 market share. So even though AMD is one powering the next generation Sony console, also carries a hidden threat that could end up hurting the PlayStation. Obviously, these are opinions. So why do I think this article is misleading? Well, maybe misleading isn't the right word, but it really makes sense for AMD to immerse itself into cloud gaming. Its biggest competitor, Nvidia, has just released their GeForce Now, and it really, I don't want to say it flopped, but since they came out with so many titles that were not approved by developers, they were all retracted, so nobody's really gotten to experience cloud gaming in a great way yet. When Stadia came out, nobody was enjoying it. There was 5 games on it that were considerably new, the rest were old, and the exclusive for it was not very good. There's problems with Stadia across the board. And what I don't understand about this article is how, if AMD is supplying Sony with graphics, well, then how is this not hurting Microsoft's console launch as well? Granted, Microsoft does have xCloud, but xCloud's still in the beta. Nobody's paying for that. So their launch would likely be hurt as well if there's another company that can take all those games and then put them on a cloud service. So I don't see how Sony is alone in here. And if they were alone, it might make a little sense that this could hurt their bottom line. But but since they're not alone and Xbox is with them, I don't think this is nearly that big of a threat as this opinion is projecting. In my opinion, the fact that there is Stadia, xCloud, GeForce Now, PlayStation Now, Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation 5, all these things, it just sounds like competition. I bet you Sony knows about this, and they've known about it longer than we've known about it. Ergo, they probably have some sort of cloud gaming system in the works. Sony's one of the biggest companies in the world. They're not just going to miss out on this opportunity. PlayStation Now is actually pretty good. Out of all of the cloud gaming services that I've played, GeForce Now, Project X Cloud, or whatever the hell it's called, and the PlayStation Now are the best ones. Stadia, you know what? To be honest, I haven't tried Stadia, but everybody said it was very limiting, and a lot of the promises they gave were not coming true. I don't want to try that until it's free on the market. Maybe it is free. I don't actually know, but I digress. xCloud, GeForce Now, and PlayStation Now are all pretty good streaming services, but you have to have 5G. And I don't think that cloud gaming is going to be a big deal for the next, I don't know, I want to say 10 years. I would like to think 5, but I'm going to say 10 years because it isn't there yet. It's just not there. I am at a house right now where I have 100 megs down of 5G internet. That should be plenty to stream games on any mobile device from GeForce Now, PlayStation Now, xCloud, all that stuff. And it's spotty. It drops connection all the time. It's not very stable. So I'm one of the people in a minority of who like to have high-speed, fast internet, who want to be able to access their games anywhere, and I just can't do that. And a lot of states in the Midwest and in the southern part of the United States do not have radical access to 5G. It's not like in LA and New York. Yes, there are some states and cities that do have it, but it's not that great and it's super spotty. The connection is really poor. So I'm going to get back to the 5G thing in a minute. And what I don't understand is why people think that all of a sudden we're going to have 5G access, and then cell phone companies are going to ramp up the price with 5G unlimited data. If you're going to be playing games all the time, they're going to charge you for it. And I saw this other article. Businesses are hinting at 5G rollout delays. So I don't want to go through everything on this article. It's a little long, but as we can see from The Verge, mobile carriers, network suppliers, and analysts are warning that the rollout of 5G networks could be delayed as a result of the pandemic. The warnings came as businesses reported their quarterly earnings, in which they outlined what effect the ongoing crisis has on their bottom lines. The full impact of the pandemic won't be known until the next quarter, but right now the US 5G rollout appears to be in better shape than Europe, with China's deployment seemingly on track. Concerns about the pandemic's impact on 5G rollouts aren't new. However, Huawei warned that 5G's European rollout would certainly be delayed back in March, although it said the effect wouldn't be as significant in the UK. We've also already seen 5G spectrum auctions delayed in a number of European countries, including blah, 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 blah. But as more businesses comment on the pandemic, its overall impact is starting to become clearer. Businesses across the 5G spectrum are now warning of potential delays. Samsung, for example, said investments in 5G networks will be reduced or delayed domestically and internationally as more effects of the pandemic unfold. So, while the US 5G rollout schedule also seems to be more or less on track for now, this optimism was echoed by Verizon, which said that it is still on track with 5G rollout despite the challenges caused by the pandemic. AT&T warned that logistical issues outside of its control may reduce the company's spending on 5G, but it was unclear on the specific impact it would have on the rollout. T-Mobile is yet to report anything. Ultimately, the full impact of the pandemic is unknown. It's unclear when European spectrum auctions may finally go ahead or when the government may lift restrictions. So it looks like this is going to have more of an impact on Europe, and the US market is still on track, but we don't have definitive answers. So the fact that we're hearing that AMD invested into some cloud gaming prospects and then that's just going to murder PlayStation, that just doesn't quite make sense. If that was the case, like I said, Xbox would have to be affected, and this console launch is an international thing. It doesn't just affect our country. I mean, I guess a lot of consoles will be sold here, but I just hope this doesn't get pushed into some narrative that Sony is going down. The last thing I would like to touch on is the console cost and how people keep talking about the projection of units being sold. So a lot of people keep thinking that because the projection of units is going to be less than the PlayStation 4's launch, that necessarily means the console is going to be less successful. And I just disagree on that wholeheartedly. This console and this next console generation is geared much more to, I would say, heavy duty gamers, generations that are used to gaming. This isn't going to be like a a regular Christmas present you get for your grandson. It might be $500, $600. The Xbox is certainly going to be around $500, $600. And sure, there are issues with the pandemic, so maybe Sony's having trouble getting hardware. I get that. But people aren't probably going to go out and buy the new console because of the pandemic, and they may have less of an income. But again, I think people are going to be happy using their PlayStation 4s and their Xbox Ones for the next few years. I don't think that games are going to be put on only the next generation, maybe if they're super high end, but for the most part, I think they're going to come out on both consoles, and I think they're both going to play just fine for the next few years. That being said, there's another article coming out by The Verge. The Xbox Series X still set to launch on schedule, but games could be delayed. Spencer notes that there could be some impact on Xbox Series X schedule, but the teams are doing very job keeping up with the hardware, and the hardware is still on track. Things are less clear on the game front. Obviously, there are a lot of games that are getting delayed right now. The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima or whatever. And as we can see here, Phil Spencer says, I'd say the bigger unknown problem is game production. Game production is a large-scale entertainment activity now, and you have hundreds of people coming together, building assets, working through creative processes. So I think if you're going to be talking about cloud gaming having any problems, it's going to be updating their library. And if Sony can put out games on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, I think that Sony's brand is going to do just fine. Same with Xbox. Cloud gaming is not this monster, this monolith that people keep talking about. With the delays in 5G in Europe, with the delays potentially in the United States, with the delays in games, AMD is just dipping their toes in all sorts of different pools. It's like stock markets. They're gambling. Their brand is ramping right now, so they're going to work with whoever they can and get as much money as possible. It doesn't mean that Sony or Xbox are going downhill. The next console generation isn't going downhill. I don't think the next console generation is going to blow anybody out of the water. I think it's going to be a great advancement forward, but I don't think a lot of people are going to care because the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox Series X are doing great. They play games just fine. And for the people who really want to upgrade, they will, like myself. But other than that, no one is facing an uphill battle, and most certainly AMD is not going to accidentally kill Sony's PlayStation 5 console. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.